Americus, what is your score? And tell me, how is this different or not from Alphabet and Google's change?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. It's great to be with you, Carl, Deidre, and John. First of all, let me say I would give this a kind of a B-. And the reason is this, because when we think about tech companies, we think about branding and what are we really trying to do here? Are we trying to get, if we're Facebook, are we trying to get people to forget the whole Cambridge Analytica thing, to forget all of this bad stuff, misinformation, all of these things that have been going on with respect to Facebook, and to try to suddenly reimagine what Facebook is? And that, so this is an attempt to try to do that, to sort of say, listen, you know, we started off as this two-dimensional kind of connection mechanism, and now we're going to go to this much more immersive kind of virtual reality, augmented reality, smart glasses, Oculus, all of this stuff now. That's the same idea, connecting people, but in this very rich and next level and immersive kind of metaverse sort of way, if you will. And so this is an attempt to try to do that. But what I think is going to happen is I think people will be on board with the new technology and all of that. But what will be very difficult is to sort of erase all the previous stuff that we have in our minds about the old sort of Facebook. And so that'll be the struggle here, which is to say, can we replace those old thoughts with these newer thoughts?
Right, and do those struggles sort of follow what Mark Zuckerberg wants to create in the metaverse? This is about him wanting to own a platform and operating system, get the chance that he didn't have for smartphones, right?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, I think that, you know, he really wants to be the thought leader here. He wants to be the public face of this. And I think, in my personal opinion, if I were Zuckerberg, I would actually recede. I would actually say, I would put someone else out there, maybe someone a bit more charismatic, a bit more trusted. The data is very clear on this, Deidre. Most consumers, I'm aware of at least 3 studies that show that consumers, American consumers, distrust Facebook, almost half of American consumers. And so you have this ongoing challenge of, you know, do I really want to continue to do this? And if Zuckerberg, by the way, this is not sort of, you know, poo-pooing on him, you know, you got to know what you're good at. And he's just not the face of like charismatic, warm, resonant sort of connections that you might see with some of the other CEOs in the tech world. So yeah. I would say you step back a little bit and let this meta be better, because in some senses, you're trying to create this totally new perception, and you don't want to be drugged down by the old perception.
But Americus, I mean, a tough thing about that is it's a controlled company, and Zuckerberg has control. So even if you put somebody else's face out there, we all know he's the one that's making the call. And also, if the purpose of this were for the general audience, for lawmakers, for customers, to project some change, then wouldn't they have changed the name of the flagship product, Facebook? Facebook is still called Facebook. The corporate name is what's changing. It seems like the audience is more either employees or shareholders, not the consuming public or the regulators.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic insight. I think that it's a signal. You're signaling to these particular audiences or constituencies that you just mentioned. And so for the consumers, here's what we understand about the consumer. The consumer basically, you know, they are kind of stuck on Facebook. And when you ask people, you know, what would be required for you? How much would we need to pay you to deactivate your account? And by the way, this study has been done in 2018, 2019. You got to pay people at least $1,000 a year to get off Facebook. Problem is, they're kind of stuck in that ecosystem. So they're not going to be moving away from it anytime soon. Where I think the important thing is to signal to you guys' point, signal to the marketplace. We are sort of on the cutting edge. We're going in a different direction. And this is where connectedness is going to be headed. And I, as leader of Facebook, can sort of be the one in charge of that ship to take it in this new direction and bring all these new people, younger consumers on board. Because that's the other thing. It's sort of like, no matter how bad the perception is of Facebook, eventually the younger consumers are going to come in and not know any of this old baggage stuff. And so there'll be a new sort of target market entering in and probably, hopefully, trying to come on board the platform.